Chapter 617. A prefecture Lord Godhead, even if it was the weakest Godhead, in the hands of the Saber King, it could display terrifying power. It had battle intent and bloodthirst, comparable to a mid-level prefecture lord. The berserk god Saber King was tempted. How could he not be tempted? I won't let this prefecture Lord Godhead be unworthy. I agree. I won't accept the mission from God's organization. I'll accept the mission from you. The berserk god Saber King said firmly, I'll tell you something, you'll definitely feel that this prefecture Lord Godhead is worth the price. Yi Qinghan was curious, what kind of secret would be worth a prefecture Lord Godhead? Qin Lang was also attracted by the berserk god Saber King's mysteriousness. He temporarily gave up on comprehending the great Nirvana sword art and raised his head to look at the berserk god Saber King. The berserk god Saber King smiled faintly and said, You should be glad that you took out the prefecture Lord Godhead to tempt me. You should be glad that you came to West Suppression Prefecture first and not the Southern Wasteland. Lin Yi is a member of God's organization. He is cooperating with 2 prefecture lords to wait for you in the Southern Wasteland. If you go, you won't have a chance to come back alive. Yi Qinghan and Qin Lang trembled. God's organization was indeed frightening, killing people without leaving a trace. Even my father doesn't know that Lin Yi is a member of God's organization. I only found out by chance. When I arrived, I saw Tai Zhan and Xue Chenggu working together to head to the Southern Wasteland. With their speed, they should have reached the Southern Wasteland by now. If you go, aren't you just walking into a trap? The berserk god Saber King looked at Yi Qinghan with a strange smile. Yi Qinghan's face was ashen. He didn't expect God's organization to go to such lengths to kill him. If he had gone to invite Lin Yi without any preparation, he would have been surrounded by the 3 great experts. There was no way he would have returned alive. Even the 3 mansion masters had succeeded in killing Grand Monarch Shura, let alone him. Many thanks for the reminder, Brother Berserk God. I owe you my life. I'll definitely give you the prefecture Lord Godhead before the battle. I believe you won't go back on your words. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. At their level of cultivation, people with cold and arrogant personalities would definitely have their own bottom line and principles in their hearts. Their words and actions would follow the law, and they would definitely not cheat others of their money. If word got out that they had cheated others of their money, they would have no face to continue living. There's no need for that. Just pretend that you don't know about the prefecture lord's godhood points. Although I won't accept any missions from God's organization, it doesn't mean that I want to fall out with them, Mad God Blade Monarch said calmly. However, if you want to win this arena competition, just the few of us are far from enough. Half of your inner sect members will just be sending themselves to their deaths if they go up on stage. If you want to win, you'll have to rope in those on the Wind Cloud leaderboard to help you. Berserk God Blade King said bluntly. From the Saber Sovereign's point of view, Emperor Yi, Gu Qingyu, Di Long Tian, Xia Chiyue, Xia Ziluo, Monkey King Chiqian, Nya Tian, and Stan Huang Tian were all allowed to fight. However, no one else was allowed to fight. Yi Qinghan frowned. There were many experts and elites in the inner sect, but it was indeed a little difficult to fight against the entire God's organization. I've investigated your inner sect. Those who can catch my eye, in addition to Yao Lao's nurturing, do not exceed 20 people. Including the 3 of us, and at most the first prince of the sacred dragon divine kingdom, we only have 24 people. It's far from enough. The berserk god Blade King reminded. I've already asked someone to persuade Yang Ru. Yi Qinghan had exposed Yang Ru. Now, he had to give berserk god Blade Monarch and Qin Lang confidence. With these 2 people, the rest would be much easier. Yang Ru is ranked 5th on the Wind Cloud leaderboard. The top 3 are all on the plain battlefield. With him alone, he can fight against 10 experts. Qin Lang nodded. Those who could be ranked in the top 5 were all terrifying existences. He had to admit that. I can deal with 5. Berserk God Blade Monarch said calmly. I can also deal with 5, Qin Lang said confidently. Yang Ru was equivalent to 10. Berserk God Blade Monarch and Qin Lang were 10. The eccentric sect had 20 people. The crown prince of the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom should have no problem dealing with 5. This was equivalent to 45 people. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and pondered. Then he raised his head and said, "As long as we don't meet the top 10 on the wind cloud leaderboard, I can kill 10. At least, we have 55 experts on our side. Our chances of winning are more than half. If we find 1 or 2 more experts on the wind cloud leaderboard, we can definitely beat them." Qin Lang and Berserk God Blade Monarch's eyes narrowed. They looked at Yi Qinghan's resolute and cold gaze. If he dared to say such words, it was not empty talk. He had absolute confidence. "It seems that I've underestimated you. You still have some tricks up your sleeve?" Berserk God Blade Monarch looked at Yi Qinghan with some surprise. Although he was arrogant, he did not dare to say that he could kill 10 people below the top 10 on the wind cloud leaderboard. "Without some tricks up my sleeve, would I dare to fight against God's organization?" Yi Qinghan smiled calmly. "What about the group battle at the back?" Chapter 6:18. After the three of them agreed, the frenzied God Saber King left alone. Yi Qinghan and Qin Lang returned to the Western Garrison Prefecture and were surrounded by hundreds of youths at the city gates. "Sirs, can you give us some guidance?" The group of young men and women were all talking at once. It seemed that they were all quite talented. At this moment, they were looking at Qin Lang and Yi Qinghan with anticipation. It seemed that they had already determined Yi Qinghan's identity. Qin Lang was cold and reclusive as he looked at the crowd coldly. The group of youths were so frightened that they didn't dare to raise their heads and hurriedly made way for him. Yi Qinghan was still fine. He nodded to the many youths and calmly said, "Experience is gained through life and death struggles. You wouldn't understand even if I explained it to you. Disperse. I still have some matters to discuss with fellow Taoist Qin." The crowd was helpless and could only slowly disperse. Yi Qinghan and Qin Lang were preparing to enter the Western Garrison Prefecture city when 7 or 8 youths walked out of the city gates. Their auras were extraordinary and were definitely comparable to inner sect experts. "You are Yi Qinghan? You're only a so-so. Chao Kuan and the rest are such losers that they have completely disgraced the Divine College." The youth in the lead was wearing a green battle robe. Behind him were 3 men and 4 women, with him as the center. They pressed down on Yi Qinghan. Tian-Ke Divine College's 4th-year top student, Sir Hao Yun. As expected of Tian-Ke Divine College's students, any one of them could easily sweep through a prefecture. This 4th-year student is even more impressive. He's definitely an existence that will spread throughout the Sanqing Divine Nation. The crowd discussed excitedly. Hao Yun and the rest looked at the crowd's admiring gazes and instantly raised their heads. They couldn't wait to beat Yi Qinghan down and teach him a lesson. They wanted to step on Yi Qinghan's head and walk to the peak. One of the top-notch women was wearing revealing clothes and had a hot body. She rubbed against Hao Yun's arm and said coquettishly, "Brother Yun, why are you being so calculative with people like him? If you offend the Iron Battle Mercenary Group, you won't even know how you died. You're here to challenge Qin Lang, so don't let that trash dirty your eyes." "That's right, Big Brother Yun. You are the pride of our Tian-Ke Divine College, the valedictorian of the 4th year. Bickering with him is really shameful." The few people behind Hao Yun said flatteringly. Hao Yun smirked and glanced at Yi Qinghan with disdain. She then turned her gaze to Qin Lang and said, "Qin Lang, I've challenged you 3 times and you've rejected me each time. Are you scared or are you afraid that I'll steal your position on the billboard? Because you are not worthy. Scram." "The sword in my hand has never killed trash," Qin Lang said coldly. Yi Qinghan shrugged. Only now did he understand the origin of Qin Lang's reputation as a loner. However, judging from Hao Yun's aura, he was indeed no match for Qin Lang. He was even less interested in bickering with him. Hao Yun's expression was ugly. She was, after all, in the top 30 of the billboard and was the 6th expert in Tian-Ke Divine College. Even some of the 5th and 6th years weren't his match. She didn't expect to be trash in Qin Lang's eyes. "How arrogant of you! If my big brother Yun is trash, then who isn't trash in this world? Qin Lang, if you don't dare to accept the challenge, then admit defeat in front of everyone and give up your ranking. Don't act all high and mighty and make us look down on you." The hot girl behind Hao Yun mocked with disdain. My big brother Yun has the bloodline of an ancient god. He has immense strength and can kill you like a dog. Qin Lang, if you don't dare to accept the challenge, then just say it. Don't embarrass yourself here. The billboard hasn't changed for 200 years. I think the next time it changes, you might not even be in the top 30, the few people behind Hao Yun scolded. Hao Yun didn't say anything and just looked at Qin Lang coldly. She brought so many people today to provoke Qin Lang so that she could show off her skills to defeat him and replace him. My true dragon roar has been cultivated to the 7th stage. I just need one attack to defeat Qin Lang. Let's see if he will fight today. If he doesn't, then I will vent my anger on Yi Qinghan. Hao Yun sneered in her heart. I am destined to be famous today. Yi Qinghan is also a good stepping stone. However, Qin Lang was indeed infuriated. His temper wasn't good and he wouldn't take the initiative to provoke others. However, once he was provoked, he would explode easily. Hao Yun, do you really want to die? I will fulfill your wish. Let's meet in the martial arts arena in 2 hours. After Qin Lang finished speaking, he brought Yi Qinghan back to the Qin residence. Brother Yi, you stay at home and wait for Cairo. I will go and kill Hao Yun, Qin Lang said indifferently. Yi Qinghan smiled. An existence like Qin Lang was definitely rare in the mythological plane. His temper was extremely bad. It was better not to provoke him, but if he did, he wouldn't live to see the next day. This Hao Yun is a direct descendant of the Hao Jia, a 12th-rank aristocratic family from the 3 clear divine kingdom. Killing him might cause trouble. Just teach him a lesson and forget about it. Yi Qinghan reminded. This kind of trash isn't worth wasting your energy on. Indeed, he isn't worth my energy. However, he keeps buzzing around my ears like a fly. He is really detestable. I have already tolerated him 3 times. I will not give him a 5th chance. Qin Lang was about to leave after he finished speaking. Suddenly, a terrifying aura came from outside the Qin residence. It was majestic and mighty, and it instantly alarmed Yi Qinghan and Qin Lang. Qin Lang frowned. In the past, not many people came to the Qin residence. Why were there so many people today? Did they discuss this beforehand? It's the prefecture lord of the West Garrison. Yi Qinghan had seen him once before. This kind of aura was easy to recognize. Brothers, may I come in? The prefecture lord of the West Garrison asked indifferently. Please come in. Qin Lang replied indifferently. This prefecture lord of the West Garrison had never visited him before. It seemed like his purpose today was for Yi Qinghan. Qin Lang gestured to the prefecture lord of the West Garrison and said, Prefecture lord, please come in. I will come back after killing someone. You can chat first. The prefecture lord of the West Garrison looked like a middle-aged man in his 40s. He had a square face and looked very dignified. When he was young, he must have been a handsome man who was ranked on the Feng Yun list. You want to kill Hao Yun? This person is from the 3 clear divine kingdoms Hao clan. Now that he has come to my West Garrison, it is indeed not good to kill him directly. It will affect the relationship between my West Garrison, the Hao clan, and the Tian-Ke Divine College. Brother Qin, please give me some face and teach him a lesson. If he goes too far, just kill him. The prefecture lord of the West Garrison spoke with a commanding tone. Qin Lang frowned. He didn't pay any attention to the prefecture lord of the West Garrison and turned to leave. The prefecture lord of the West Garrison understood Qin Lang. Therefore, he didn't interact with him normally. Otherwise, the two of them would definitely fight. This guy, Sai. With his temper, he will cause trouble sooner or later. The prefecture lord of the West Garrison shook his head and said. Yi Qinghan looked at him and bowed slightly. Thank you, prefecture lord, for your help last time. I will do my best to repay you in the future. Prefecture Lord Yi is too polite. My attitude depends on the divine kingdom. If Prefecture Lord Yi is grateful, you should be grateful to the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom for leading the crazed prefecture to return to the Divine Kingdom. After all, this territory originally belonged to the Divine Kingdom. If Prefecture Lord Yi is unwilling, just pretend I didn't say anything. The Prefecture Lord of the West Garrison said indifferently. Chapter 619. The West Garrison was clearly here to determine the ownership of Crazy Manor. However, Yi Qinghan only wanted to make his territory a business legend. He did not want to be involved in any wars. As long as he could destroy God's organization's prestige, the 3 divine kingdoms and the 3 academies would have to think twice before making things difficult for Crazy Manor. Yi Qinghan did not respond to the West Garrison Prefecture Lord's words. Instead, he changed the subject and asked, "Lord Garrison Prefecture Lord, are you here just to persuade me? What else do you want?" The West Garrison Prefecture Lord was silent for a moment. Then he said in a deep voice, "I just want to remind you that God's organization behind Taizhan is not as simple as you think. There are nearly 3,000 prefecture lords in the world. Half of them work for God's organization. When they are not united, even the divine kingdoms have to think twice. There are even people from God's organization in the divine kingdom's palace. If you offend them, it will be difficult for your Crazy Manor to develop." Yi Qinghan smiled and asked calmly, "So you're saying that I should compromise and hand over the Southern Mountains Pass superintendent to them? Are we going to let them slaughter us?" Actually, if you pledge your loyalty to the divine kingdom of the sacred dragon, the divine kingdom will step in and hand over a few people to let Taizhan vent his anger. Then, you can apologize in public and pay some compensation. This matter will be over. Sorry, I can't do that. To be honest, I'm not afraid of God's organization. At worst, we can just break up and leave with Crazy Manor. Yi Qinghan coldly rejected the West Garrison Prefecture Lord's good intentions. However, Yi Qinghan felt that this humiliation was not well-intentioned. Prefecture Lord Ye's background is unknown and you have such a senior brother. I think you are also someone with a background. I wonder which superior God's disciple you are? Western Garrison Prefecture Lord probed. The West Garrison Prefecture Lord was also a person who had been conferred the title of king. He also had the royal bloodline of the sacred dragon divine kingdom. Naturally, he hoped that Yi Qinghan would pledge his loyalty to the royal family and guard the sacred dragon divine kingdom with him. At this moment, he wanted to know more about Yi Qinghan's background. Yi Qinghan smiled. He could tell that this prefecture lord of the Western Garrison was here to inquire about his identity. Coincidentally, at this moment, Qin Lang walked back with his body covered in blood. Even his clothes were torn. It didn't even take him an hour to come and go, and he was actually injured. Yi Qinghan and Lord Jinshi looked at Qin Lang's cold face. Hao Yun was injured again. They reckoned that Hao Yun was doomed. Even if he didn't die, he would be crippled. "You killed him?" Lord Jinshi asked indifferently. "No, I crippled his godhead and broke his meridians. His injuries are irreversible. I think he won't bother me again in the future," Qin Lang said calmly. Western Garrison Liege Lord shook his head. It seemed that Qin Lang's eccentric character could not be changed. Not only was he unable to communicate with others, he also offended people every day. This time, he had offended both the Tian Ke Divine College and the Hao clan in one go. Forget it. If you have killed him, then so be it. This is the West Garrison Prefecture, not the Sanqing Divine Kingdom. Both of them will have to think twice before seeking revenge. After Western Garrison Liege Lord finished speaking, he stood up and looked at the two of them. "This time, I am mainly here to tell you that in half a month, there will be an auction in the West Garrison Prefecture. There will be many treasures and many things that young people like you will need. Don't miss it. At that time, there will be many elites on the Windcloud list. It seems that I will have to postpone my return." Yi Qinghan's interest was piqued. The insane sect's inner sect was in a period of rapid development. The most important thing was to obtain treasures, elixirs, and secret techniques. This will be the biggest auction held by the Sacred Dragon Divine Kingdom in the past 30 years. It will gather all the treasures collected by various auction houses. The Divine Kingdom's auction, which is held once every 30 years, was set to be held in the West Garrison Prefecture 3 years ago. In a few days, there will be many experts arriving. The West Garrison Prefecture will be very lively. This time, I am not only here to inform you of the auction, but also to ask the two of you to help me guard the West Garrison Prefecture. This auction is no small matter and will attract many prefecture masters. The experts sent by the Divine Kingdom have not arrived yet. I am worried that I can't handle all the heroes of the world alone. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. Now that the time and location have been announced by the Divine Kingdom, the two of you should stay in the West Garrison Prefecture for the time being. I believe that it will be very lively in 3 to 5 days. Some old monsters who have been living in seclusion will appear. In addition, there will be various overlords. Sai, this auction is a blessing or a curse? The Western Garrison Liege Lord shook his head. The huge auction was an opportunity for development for the Western Garrison, but it was also a catastrophe. If the Western Garrison Liege Lord could suppress all the overlords in the world, they would gain a huge amount of wealth. But if they couldn't suppress them, the entire Western Garrison Liege Lord would be razed to the ground, and the auction would develop into a robbery operation. Yi Qinghan nodded and agreed. He would protect the West Garrison Prefecture for the next few days as a form of repayment for the West Garrison Prefecture's help. Prefecture Master Yi, please stay in the West Garrison Prefecture. The treasures will appear in batches in the West Garrison Prefecture. They will all be kept in the West Garrison Prefecture. Fellow Taoist, you can guard them with me. I can also hold a welcome dinner for you. If fellow Taoist Qin doesn't mind, you can join in the fun tonight, the West Garrison Prefecture Lord said. Not interested. I'm going to cultivate the great Nirvana sword art. Don't bother me if you don't have anything to do. Qin Lang bluntly rejected the invitation. He turned and walked towards the courtyard on the lake outside the prefecture. Before he left, he said, "Take care. I won't be seeing you off." Yi Qinghan finally understood that Qin Lang's temper was not only eccentric but also eccentric. He didn't have the slightest intention of interacting with others. Even Gu Qingyu wasn't like him. It was a miracle that someone like him could make friends. After that, Yi Qinghan instructed the housekeeper of the Qin Manor to let that person go to the West Garrison Prefecture Lord's manor if anyone was looking for him. Obviously, Yi Qinghan was worried that Sairo would come looking for him. Sairo, who was ranked 8th, was worth roping in. If they could reach an agreement, the strength of the crazed prefecture would increase greatly. When Yi Qinghan and the West Garrison Prefecture Lord arrived at the West Garrison Prefecture, it was already afternoon. The West Garrison Prefecture Lord didn't invite anyone else. He only gathered the younger generation of the clan and introduced them to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan didn't know what the West Garrison Prefecture Lord wanted to do. There were 10 pairs of men and women. All of them looked to be in their teens. The boys were handsome and talented while the girls were beautiful and pure. There were all kinds of girls. These 20 people are the elites of the West Garrison Prefecture. Their talents aren't bad. Some of them are from poor families while some are from the direct bloodline of my manor. Does Taoist Yi think that they are worth nurturing? The West Garrison Prefecture Lord said indifferently. Yi Qinghan looked at the group of men and women in the hall. All the elites of the manor should be here. Indeed, they were all very good. Some of them were unruly, some were full of envy, some had unconcealable adoration in their eyes, and some were introverted. They all had different personalities. Father, I heard that Yi Qinghan of the crazed prefecture is here. Why didn't you call me? Just as Yi Qinghan was sizing up the group of people, a white figure suddenly flashed by outside the hall. The young girl's face was as white as jade. She was about 1.7 meters tall and slender, but her figure was curvaceous. Her long skirt swayed in the wind, making her look like a charming fairy. Yi Qinghan looked up and also felt that this girl was like a celestial being. She could be considered a peerless beauty. Chapter 620. The girl looked at Yi Qinghan with fiery eyes as if she was looking at her idol. Her fiery eyes were almost spewing flames. If there weren't so many people around, she would have already rushed up and hugged Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan had never seen such fiery eyes. It wasn't love, but worship. Western Garrison Liege Lord looked at the girl trembling all over as if she was enduring. He couldn't help but frown and reprimand her. How can a girl lose her composure like this? Ugh. The girl screamed in a sharp and ear-piercing voice. She directly pounced on Yi Qinghan and cried out in a crisp voice, "It's really Yi Qinghan. So handsome." Yi Qinghan was stunned. He didn't expect this girl to be even crazier than Emperor Yi. He quickly dodged to the side and helplessly looked at Western Garrison Liege Lord. Western Garrison Liege Lord smiled bitterly. His only precious daughter, Long Shui, had been spoiled since she was young. She was lawless and had no respect for her elders. All the brothers in the Western Garrison Liege Lord's residence couldn't subdue her. Even when she went to the capital of Scandinavia, the princes and playboys had to avoid her. Manor Lord Yi, this girl is my daughter. Her name is Long Shui. Ever since she learned that you single-handedly defeated the Iron Battle mercenary group, she has been treating you like an idol. She's not crazy, it's just that. Western Garrison Liege Lord didn't know how to explain and was at a loss for words. Yi Qinghan understood the girl's worship, so he had to maintain a cold attitude and keep a respectful distance. He had to let this worship remain worship and not develop into love. Therefore, he looked down at Long Shui and nodded like an elder. Long Shui was stunned. She didn't expect Yi Qinghan to keep such a distance from her. Big brother Yi, I really admire you. You're so handsome. I've collected many images of you. Show me a set of saber techniques. I want to record it. My sisters will definitely envy me to death. Ha, I'm going crazy with joy. Long Shui shouted happily. Yi Qinghan, don't mess around. Fellow Taoist Yi is the dignified manor lord, the master of the sect. How can he play with you? Western Garrison Liege Lord said helplessly and pretended to be angry. Father, I only have this one wish, hurry up and get him to fulfill it. Or I'll be angry. Long Shui willfully looked at Western Garrison Liege Lord and Yi Qinghan as if she wouldn't give up until she got what she wanted. Below, a group of boys and girls covered their mouths and snickered. The dignified manor head would have a headache whenever he saw the willful princess. Only Long Shui could restrain the Western Garrison Liege Lord. Looking at the 3 black lines on the Western Garrison Liege Lord's forehead, she wanted to laugh in her heart but didn't dare to. Brainless girl. Western Garrison Liege Western Garrison. T's, Western Garrisons. T. Western Divine. It, T. Her, TT, Nent. Her. Price. You dare to call me a moron? Long Shui took a deep breath and angrily said. At this moment, everyone looked at the divine bird curiously. Some people could recognize the devouring soul divine parrot, but there were many who couldn't. They only felt that this parrot was very cute, but also somewhat courting death. It even dared to scold the princess of the Western Garrison Liege Lord's mansion. Tisk Tsi, you know you're a moron. You can't be scolded by others. It seems you can still be saved. The divine bird replied in a strange tone. Shut up. Don't talk nonsense. Yi Qinghan frowned. He didn't want to offend Western Garrison Liege Lord. Humph, master. Little master told me to keep an eye on you. You're not allowed to hook up with people, especially beautiful women. This divine bird doesn't agree with little master. But I won't allow you to do anything. If you dare to talk to her, I'll go on a hunger strike. The divine bird seriously said. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes. Is this bastard here to ruin my show? I'm going to roast this lowly bird. Long Shui roared as she stretched out her jade hand to grab the divine bird. Yi Qinghan's will shot out from his eyes, distorting space and imprisoning Long Shui. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't cross the distance between them. In any case, Long Shui was a lesser god priest, and an extremely powerful one at that. At this moment, she actually couldn't withstand a wisp of Yi Qinghan's will. Everyone in the main hall was stunned. Was this the power of the manor head? Could he kill someone with his will alone? Western Garrison Liege Lord was also very astonished. Yi Qinghan's performance had nothing to do with his strength. Instead, it was his understanding of the soul and spatial laws. With just a glance, he was able to suppress an extreme lower-level Supreme Tao Almighty to the point of being unable to move. He had already surpassed his peers by far too much. Long Shui's face turned red. She looked at Yi Qinghan as if she wanted to cry, but no tears came out. In the end, she gave up struggling. Yi Qinghan's clothes fluttered, and it will send Long Shui to Western Garrison Liege Lord's side. You're bullying me too. I worshipped you so much. You scoundrel. Long Shui glared at Yi Qinghan. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws as if she couldn't wait to tear apart Yi Qinghan and the divine bird. Just give up, you naughty little girl. When are you going to the crazy manor? Let the little master teach you how to be a woman. The divine bird's eyes flickered as it looked at Long Shui, wanting to torture her. Western Garrison Liege Lord recognized the divine bird and hurriedly transmitted his voice to Long Shui, reminding her, Shui, this is the devouring soul parrot. It has no integrity at all. Don't even believe its words, understand? Long Shui suffered a loss in silence. She angrily glared at the divine bird, but it glared back at her. Just as the divine bird was arguing with Long Shui, its eyes suddenly lit up. It looked outside and muttered, "There's a treasure nearby." Sure enough, someone quickly came to report that 3 experts had come to pay a visit. Western Garrison Liege Lord personally welcomed them outside the manor and led them to the main hall. The 3 of them were old men who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. They were not as strong as the manor lord, but they were all mid-level almighty experts, only 1 step away from the peak realm. The 3 of them looked at Yi Qinghan cautiously. They didn't recognize him. This is Manor Lord Yi Qinghan of the Crazy Manor. I invited him to protect the treasure. You can trust him. Western Garrison Liege Lord introduced them one by one. These 3 are Taoists from the 3 Clear Divine Kingdoms Supreme God Auction House. Yi Qinghan nodded at the 3. The 3 of them were quite surprised. Yi Qinghan had offended so many organizations by developing the Crazy Manor Auction House. The Supreme God Auction House would definitely pay special attention to Yi Qinghan. How could they not have heard of Yi Qinghan's name? So it's Manor Lord Yi. We've been disrespectful. The 3 of them said coldly. Western Garrison Liege Lord could see that the 3 of them were very dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan. He quickly changed the topic and said, "Fellow Taoists, give me the treasure. I'll set up evidence for you." At that moment, the divine bird secretly said to Yi Qinghan, "The treasure on these 3 people is a chaos treasure, the chaos heavenly lotus seed. I've already smelled its fragrance. Master, take it and you'll be able to control the law of chaos." Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. This kind of treasure was not so easy to obtain unless it was traded internally. If it was auctioned, it would be sold at a sky-high price. Now that his 5-element Tao body had been cultivated to the peak realm, if he wanted to develop the 9 revolutions Chaos Tao body, he could collect treasures related to the great Tao of heaven and earth. The Chaos Heavenly Lotus was one of them. Yi Qinghan was clearly tempted. Chapter 621. Yi Qinghan looked at the 5 primal Chaos Heavenly Lotus seeds that the 3 experts took out. They were filled with the profoundness of chaos. Although it was unknown how many eras had passed, they still retained a majestic vitality. As long as they were carefully nurtured, they could still reappear in the world. Yi Qinghan understood that the Supreme Treasure Auction House had something against him. It was impossible for them to be traded internally. If they were to be sold at the auction house, it would be very difficult to buy them. Mansion Master Long, can you buy this item through an internal transaction? Yi Qinghan stared at Western Garrison Liege Lord and asked via voice transmission. Moreover, these Chaos Heavenly Lotus seeds have existed since the beginning of the world. There isn't much vitality left, and the profound laws aren't very clear. Although there are 5 of them, the chances of comprehending the profound mysteries of primal chaos from them are less than 10%. Spending 500,000 high-grade spirit crystals is really unwise. It's better to auction them directly. Who knows, you might not even need 300,000, reminded Western Garrison Liege Lord. 500,000 high-grade spirit crystals? Yi Qinghan frowned. 500,000 high-grade spirit crystals were equivalent to 50 million mid-grade spirit crystals and 5 billion low-grade spirit crystals. The key was that others had high-grade spirit crystals, so it was impossible for them to exchange for mid-grade spirit crystals, let alone low-grade spirit crystals. Even the Crazy Mansion couldn't take out 500,000 high-grade spirit crystals. Helpless, he could only give up on the internal transaction. The price of the Primal Chaos Heavenly Lotus Seed was 250,000 high-grade spirit crystals. This price was already the last transaction price of the Primal Chaos Heavenly Lotus Seed. He might not be able to buy it at such a high price, so he could only wait. After a simple meal, Yi Qinghan no longer paid attention to the treasures that were continuously sent over. However, the divine bird was envious. Its eyes flickered with a thieving light. It wanted to steal the treasures it had set its eyes on, but it was suppressed by Yi Qinghan. That night, a black-clothed man appeared outside the Western Garrison Liege Lord's residence. His entire body was as black as ink, and his bamboo hat covered his upper body. He held a long rod in his hand. Even the rod was black in color. It was completely compatible with the night. "Go and report that I'm looking for Yi Qinghan." The black-clothed man's voice was hoarse, and there was an indescribable vicissitude in it. The guard at the gate frowned and was about to reprimand the intruder when the man in black's cold eyes pierced through the bamboo hat and pierced into the guard's eyes. The few low-level god priests were so scared that their legs almost turned to jelly. One of them turned around and ran toward the backyard. Yi Qinghan was in the middle of training in the profound mysteries of the 5 elements, striving to train the other 4 elemental essences to the god level as well, adjusting the harmony of the 5 elements. Upon hearing that a black-clothed man was looking for him, he hurriedly ran out of the manor. Seeing the black-clothed man's vigorous figure, he knew that this man was Cairo. "I've been waiting for a long time. Please come in." Yi Qinghan cherished talents. Someone who could reach 8th place on the wind cloud list was definitely a terrifying existence. Someone who had managed to escape the pursuit of God's organization all by himself was not surprising at all. Silo stared fixedly at Yi Qinghan for a long time before stepping into the Western Garrison Liege Lord's residence. Long Shui discovered the two of them and went forward to stop them, but she was stopped by the divine bird. "Little brat, come and talk to this divine bird about life's ideals. I can give you what you want. Are you interested?" The divine bird grinned. Yi Qinghan did not want to be delayed by Long Shui, so he left the divine bird behind and let it fool Long Shui. "Don't hurt her. The rest is up to you," Yi Qinghan said before leading Silo to the guest room area. In the guest room area, in the Dragon Residence Hall, the two of them sat across from each other. "I can help you, and I can even fight to the death for you. But if I'm lucky enough to survive, I need the crazy manor to guarantee my safety and quietly transfer me out of here." Silo went straight to the point. In order to take revenge, he did not care about the reward. As long as he could kill a member of God's organization, it would be fine. "I can promise you that even if all the mansion masters of the entire mythological plane and the 3 elders of God's organization personally come, they will not be able to kill you." Yi Qinghan was extremely confident. With the 9 remoteness master around, he was not afraid of the superior god's priest at all. Cairo took off his bamboo hat. There was actually a scar across his handsome face. It was a ghastly sight. If the scar was removed, Cairo would definitely be a rare handsome man. However, at this moment he was actually so frightening. He looked like a young man in his 20s, but he seemed to have experienced the vicissitudes of time and space for millions of years. Yi Qinghan did not say much. He could feel the ruthlessness and hatred in Silo's heart. God's organization had massacred a large clan, so how could he not hate them? In order to collect the bloodline of the ancient giant god, God's organization massacred my clan and drained their blood essence in front of me. You know this hatred. I don't want to give up my life for a moment of happiness. If you can't guarantee my life after the battle, then don't agree." Silo warned in a hoarse voice. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists, and his mind spun quickly. God's organization was collecting the bloodline of the ancient giant god, so it was not that simple. It was very likely that they were studying the ancient giant god and wanted to restore the glory of the ancient giant god era. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice, "I understand. If fellow Taoist helps me, I can guarantee with my life that as long as you are in the crazy mansion, no one will be able to kill you. I also have the ability to send you out of the control of God's organization." "What guarantee do you have? You even had to run around everywhere to seek help for the competition. How can I trust you?" Silo asked, wanting to feel at ease. Yi Qinghan smiled proudly and said confidently, "Because I have an existence behind me that even the God Lords do not dare to offend. Because I am Yi Qinghan. I dare to fight against God's organization, so I am not afraid of them. All right, I am only a member of Azura. I have no interest in the help they seek. I hope you understand," Silo said in a serious tone. Yi Qinghan nodded. If Silo agreed to help, the Crazy Mansion's chances of winning would greatly increase. There was no need to send the weaker members of the inner sect to die. The inner sect members had accompanied him through countless difficult times, and he did not want to leave anyone behind. "Don't tell anyone about my identity. Until now, I have only trusted one person, and that is the crazy God Saber Monarch. Now, there is one more person," Silo said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan nodded and pushed a jade slip in front of Silo. He said indifferently, "This is called the Great Nirvana Sword Art. This is only the first form. If you like it, you can cultivate it. After the competition is over, I will send the other 2 forms to you. There is less than half a year before the big battle. During this time, you can stay here. I will return to the Crazy Mansion after the auction is over next month." Silo nodded and held the jade slip. He had lost most of his clan's secret techniques and did not dare to reveal his identity. Most of the secret techniques he cultivated were not strong. If Yi Qinghan could take out a secret technique, it would definitely be of a high level. It was impossible for him not to want it. However, what he wanted the most was not the Great Nirvana Sword Art. "I heard that you have a 12th grade fire source. Can you give me some? My ancestor is the Chaos Fire Master God. I have the inheritance of the Master God, but I do not have a fire source. If I have a 12th grade fire source, I can awaken the Master God's bloodline in my body." Silo stared at Yi Qinghan and asked in a hoarse voice. Chapter 622. The competition between the Medium God Temple and Emperor Yi became more and more brutal, but the Endless Plains returned to peace. This was because the Heavenly Tao had once communicated with the Emperor Yi and benefited her. Now, she had grown so much that she actually had the ability to reach the God Temple realm. The elites of the past, the existences of the same era as Yi Qinghan, either entered the Middle Plane and disappeared or hid in the Endless Plains. Now, they appeared in such a high-profile manner. There were actually people who had broken through to the God Temple realm, and Yi Feng was one of them. However, after reaching the God Temple realm, he sensed Emperor Shang. The old man who had once worked so hard for the Endless Plains was now traveling in the wilderness, constantly searching for something. The numerous calamities back then had destroyed many traces of time, so it was not easy to find a broken sword. Now, the great Tao and space of the Endless Plains were abnormally stable. It was not something that could be torn apart by the God Temple realm. Even the God Temple realm could not cover the entire wilderness with their divine sense. The stars were growing and expanding, and the entire wilderness was also changing. The traces of time outlined the tragic events back then. The god-slaying ancestors' only emperor weapon left behind, the Emperor's sword. Now, it seemed that there were countless great emperors in the world, and divine weapons were also slowly appearing. However, some glory could not be replaced by the God Temple realm. The achievements left behind by the god-slaying ancestor could not be erased by the God Temple realm. The god-slaying organization was still high and mighty, but it was no longer as revered as before. There was no danger, no crisis. Their heroic spirit had long been exhausted. "I cannot let the faith of the god-slaying organization disappear in my hands." Emperor Shang's weathered face was filled with sorrow. The god-slaying organization had gone through countless difficulties and dangers, and who knew how many martyrs had died to obtain this situation. The god-slaying organization could not lose their faith just because the Emperor's sword was broken. After searching for half a year, Emperor Shang finally found the lightning region. When he saw the broken Emperor's sword still stabbed into the rock like a man, his eyes were filled with tears. The spirit of the Emperor's sword was already dead, and only half of the sword was left. Emperor Shang pulled it out, and it was as if he had returned to the past. Yi Feng looked from afar. He had experienced that era and understood Emperor Shang's sadness. He could not help but sigh. "Senior, now that the plane is peaceful, why are you still clinging to the past? Be vigilant in times of peace, never forget the past. The glory of our ancestors will never be erased by time. The glory of our killing shrine will never be erased. No matter what era it is, deity slayers must always remember that the lives we have today were bought with the blood and lives of our ancestors. Di Shang looked at Yi Feng. He vaguely remembered that these young people had participated in battles to the death when they were very young. It was not easy for them to survive until now. Yi Feng was silent. Di Shang took the broken sword and returned to the ancient killing god organization. There were many unfamiliar faces here, but Di Shang's face was not unfamiliar to them. Di Shang's return to the ancient massacre god palace instantly shook the entire imperial region. The current controller of the massacre god palace was an extremely powerful massacre god in the past. His name was Yan Nan, and he had already grown into an old man. At this moment, when he looked at Di Shang, he actually cried like a child. Yan Nan, reorganize the ancient massacring gods and hunters. I want the ancient massacring gods to regain their fighting spirit. I want the glory of the ancient massacring gods to be eternal. The ancient massacre gods who don't have the strength and mental fortitude are all eliminated. The ancient massacre gods don't want trash. Di Shang said coldly. But Yan Nan had long wanted to reorganize the ancient massacring gods. War could make people's fighting spirit rise, but a luxurious life could also temper a person's will. The ancient massacre gods and hunters had already lost their fighting spirit. Because they were high and mighty, no one dared to provoke them. Even the current deity's palace had to give them face. In the godly slaughter world, Di Shang took out the origin of fire and godly metal he had brought from the mythological plane. After 49 days of tempering and refining, he finally melted them into a liquid state. As the liquid boiled, the temperature of the godly slaughter world spread to the outside world. Di Shang's godhead flew out of his body. His godly body carried the broken emperor's sword and directly plunged into the molten metal. A mournful scream resounded through the mountains and rivers. The entire ancient massacre god organization was alarmed. Even the heavenly Tao was shaken. In order to restore the emperor's sword, Di Shang used his godly body's flesh and blood to melt into the molten metal. His powerful body couldn't withstand the burning of an 11th grade god flame and instantly disappeared. The molten metal seemed to have a spirit of its own. It was as if it was alive. It was strange and beautiful. It automatically took shape and evolved into the emperor's sword. It was exactly the same as the sword of the past. It was austere and majestic. It contained the fire origin and could tear apart space at any time. Di Shang's godhead was controlled by his soul. Seeing the emperor's sword return, it constantly trembled. The godhead directly flew into the emperor's sword and fused with it. With his flesh and blood as the sword body and his soul as the sword spirit, he had directly given up his life for the ancient massacre god and the emperor's sword. After becoming the sword spirit, he lost his own thoughts. He was completely based on the emperor's sword spirit of the past. The sword was still the emperor's sword, but Di Shang had completely disappeared. When Di Shang returned from the myth world, he had already prepared himself for death. For the ancient massacre god, for the glory of the massacre god organization, he would die without regret. Boom boom boom. Heaven and earth rumbled. Lightning tore through space and time and appeared in the sky above the massacre god world. It directly forcefully pulled the emperor's sword out and brought it into the universe. Countless lightning bolts covered the emperor's sword, and it let out a soft cry. It turned into a ray of divine light and shot into the sky. Countless lightning bolts descended from the heavens and cleansed the emperor's sword, acknowledging it. Snow fell for thousands of miles, and time reversed. A few words were carved on the sword. On the front was Emperor's Sword, and on the back was a line of small words. Ancient Massacre God, even in death, Massacre God immortal, eternal glory. This was the only mark left by Di Shang. Heaven and earth mourned. Not only did the heavens acknowledge the Emperor's Sword, but it also acknowledged Di Shang's actions. It directly took the Emperor's Sword away and sent it into the heavens. It used the mysteries of the heavens to strengthen the emperor's sword. The mysteries of the heavens and the source of all laws condensed into the emperor's sword. 2 more words appeared on the front of the emperor's sword: Heavenly Tao. Heavenly Tao, human emperor's sword, enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. When this sword appeared, it represented the supreme glory of the endless plains. Once it succeeded, its level would be unimaginable. It would definitely surpass Yi Qinghan's 7-foot berserk sword. It might even become a legendary superior divine weapon. However, whether it could become a superior divine weapon or not, Di Shang could not do anything. It would depend on the heaven's ability and its future potential. If it could develop into a middle plane, this Heavenly Tao human emperor's sword would definitely become a superior divine weapon. However, if it became a divine weapon, it would have its own sword spirit and its own destiny. It would protect the endless universe and protect the ancient massacre god. Not just anyone could use the emperor's sword. At this moment, the entire plane could feel the pressure of heaven and earth increase. It was heavy and full of sorrow. Chapter 6:23. In the endless plains, myths and legends were born. The heavens blessed the world, and the sword merged with the way of heaven. At this moment, all the creatures born in the endless plains felt a powerful force coming from their bodies, and they felt the way of heaven. Yi Qinghan from the mythological dimension was an expert from the inner sect of the insane faction. Emperor Yi, in particular, had benefited the most. He had directly stepped into the realm of a medium god, and his soul had been strengthened by more than a few times. Not only these people, but also the ancestors of the human race, the masters who came out of the endless plains, all felt the power from the plains. Most of those people became gods. After all, anyone who could become a human ancestor would have a high level of cultivation. It was especially so for the supreme beings of the past who had left countless legends in the endless plains, such as Shenong. Several Renawangs woke up from their seclusion at the same time. They looked up at the sky and sighed softly. Has the endless plains leveled up? In the endless plains, the heavenly way human emperor's sword flew between heaven and earth, and the killing god's power spread out. The ancient killing god was full of vitality again. Even if he died on the battlefield, he would not regret it. This was the inheritance and faith of the ancient killing god. As long as the faith existed, the killing god's faith would never die. The masters of the various temples came out of seclusion and knelt in front of the sword. The temples believed in the people who had made great contributions to the endless plains, and they believed in the people who saved the endless plains from the abyss of hell. The biggest temple was naturally the Temple of War. The person who dared to call himself the god of war was naturally the person who uprooted the forbidden land, Yi Qinghan. At this moment, they were all willing to kneel. This emperor's sword had a special meaning. Whether it was the one in the past or the one now, they all represented the same meaning, which was to protect. The words on the back of the divine sword turned into golden light and rushed to every corner of the endless plains. The ancient killing god, even if he died, he would not regret it. As long as the killing god was not destroyed, his glory would be eternal. At this moment, this emperor's sword not only represented the ancient killing god, but also the way of heaven. This was the second time the way of heaven had recognized a sword after Emperor Yi. Jian Chenxue stepped out of the river of time and appeared thousands of miles away, looking at the heavenly way human emperor's sword. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Thousands of miles of mountains and rivers, all the heroes of the world came out. Looking at the small line of words on the back of the sword, his heart suddenly became sour. That's right. Now, the endless plains had become stronger. The heavenly Tao was sentimental, and all living things had their own will and freedom. But what did they rely on? Without the human sovereign's sword, there would be no endless plains today. Although they were living a good life now, were they going to forget their fighting spirit? If the Guangzong were to be defeated one day, who would stand in front of them? People must rely on themselves. Yi Feng looked at the Renhuang sword from afar. He did not want to take it for himself. Now that the Renhuang sword had appeared, Emperor Shang had not appeared. The origin of this sword was self-evident. Using one's life to create a sword was not something that just anyone could have. No one disliked this guardian sword, but most of them were able to get rid of their greed. However, some of them couldn't hold it in any longer and directly flew up into the sky, rushing towards the mortal sovereign sword. The sword light shattered the heaven and earth, and a strand of sword chi shattered the bodies of those experts. Blood spilled over the mountains and rivers, shocking everyone. Now, the protector sword was no longer an imperial weapon. It was a mid-tier divine artifact. Sooner or later, it would be promoted to a high-level divine artifact. Once the heavenly path was promoted or Emperor Yi was promoted to a high-level divine artifact, this protector sword would also be promoted to a high-level divine artifact. When Emperor Yi became a superior divine priest, he would become a medium divine weapon. When the heavenly way was promoted, so would the guardian sword. On that day, a huge earthquake occurred in the ancient massacre god. Some of them were demoted to hunters, and some were even directly kicked out of the ancient massacre god. The ancient massacre god announced that they would show the glory of the past. The true ancient massacre god would all die on the battlefield. With the human sovereign sword, whoever dared to be dissatisfied would be killed. Most of the people who were kicked out of the ancient massacre god were young masters of aristocratic families. Unfortunately, they didn't succeed and instead became a laughingstock. Jian Qinshu pointed at the human sovereign sword, and it automatically flew into his hand, continuously emitting a dazzling divine light. Looking at the words carved on the back of the sword, he knew that this sword was exchanged with Di Shang's life. He couldn't help but sigh. Holding the sword, he directly entered the deity realm and handed the sword to Di Longtian. Di Longtian held the sword and kept stroking it. He didn't expect that Di Shang's departure would be an eternal farewell. The strong big boy shed tears, which dripped onto the back of the sword, giving off a pleasant sound. It was like the sound of nature. When the people in the inner sect found out that Di Shang had turned his body into a sword and his godhead into a sword spirit, they all came out of seclusion to comfort Di Longtian. Emperor Ye's eyes reddened. Di Shang was still his master. Even though he had never called him master, deep in his heart, he greatly approved of Di Shang. Di Shang was a tragic person. Even though he had escaped death several times and saved countless lives, he couldn't stop the obsession in his heart. He used his own life to exchange for the glory and inheritance of the ancient massacre god. Little Tian, now that the ancient massacre god is changing, you probably have to go back. After all, this is an internal matter of the ancient massacre god. It's not good for me to interfere, Jian Qinshu said gently. Di Longtian pursed his lips and nodded. However, he soon shook his head. There was less than half a year before the competition started. What if he couldn't come back? Go back. Half a year is more than enough time for you to deal with the ancient massacre gods. Now that the ancient massacre gods are without a leader and have begun to change their ranks, you have no choice but to go back, Emperor Yi said. In the end, Di Longtian nodded. The ancient massacre god was his father's life's work. He couldn't just watch it go to waste. Sister Shui, take a few godhoods back. They might be useful. Emperor Yi waved his hand and took out a few of the best intermediate godhoods and lower godhoods, giving them to Jian Qinshu. The children are quite good. They are very talented and will definitely surpass me. I will nurture them well. You can develop here in peace. Jian Qinshu was very gentle and kept looking for Yi Qinghan. Unfortunately, she couldn't find him. Sister Shui, you have worked hard. Emperor Yi was very grateful. If Jian Qinshu didn't take care of so many children in the endless plains, how could the people of the inner sect cultivate in peace? Moreover, his children were still in the endless plains. Sister, what are you saying? They are also my children. The three of them are so young, yet they have already reached the emperor realm. I didn't even dare to think about it back then. After a few days, they will be able to refine the godhoods. At that time, I will send them here to train. Jian Qinshu looked at the mythical plane and yearned for it. However, with her children here, she had to protect Owl War Star. It has been very dangerous recently. Send them back in a few years. Let them cultivate well. Here are the secret techniques and divine medicines I have prepared for them. Emperor Yi kept all the good things and sent them back to Owl War Star. Many of the children's talents surpassed the adults of the inner sect. They were worth nurturing. No one envied the inner sect experts. After all, their children were also on Owl War Star. If Jian Chenxue wanted to nurture them, she would definitely nurture them all. Chapter 624. Di Longtian followed Jian Chenxue back to the endless world with the human sovereign sword in his hand. Yan Nan gave up his position, and Di Longtian became the leader of the ancient massacre god. Pass down my order, the ancient massacre god will begin to reduce members. I want the strongest elites, the most courageous men, the elites who dare to die for the world. Those who do not meet my requirements will either be demoted to hunters and be reassessed, or be kicked out of the ancient massacre god. In addition, increase the difficulty of the ancient massacre god's assessment by 10 times, and give out godheads as rewards. Anyone who becomes an emperor will receive a lesser godhead when they reach the emperor realm. Increase the difficulty of the hunter's assessment by 5 times, and give out emperor realm secret techniques and emperor realm cultivation insights as rewards. Di Longtian acted swiftly and decisively. As the dragon cavalry's supervisor, he was able to control the ancient massacre god with ease. Some of the higher-ups of the ancient massacre god were excited, while others were worried. Since Di Longtian wanted to reorganize the ancient massacre god, the higher-ups would be forced into a passive position. Sure enough, Di Longtian decided to completely reorganize the ancient massacre god, and the higher-ups were especially strict. However, the rewards were not small. Those who were truly capable would be happy, and those who were not would not be able to get godheads. It would be a miracle if they could keep their lofty status. The next day, the ancient massacre god once again shook the endless plains of existence. There were a total of 10 elders in the ancient massacre god's faction, but 7 of them were demoted to ordinary ancient massacre gods. However, 3 of them were rewarded with godhood and 300 low-grade god crystals. This was the most exciting reward. In the endless world, apart from geniuses like Yi Feng, there were not many who could condense their own godheads. If they wanted to become a god, they had to obtain godheads. Entering the ancient killing god exam was the fastest way to become a god. The ancient massacre god became active again. Di Longtian had learned a lot from Yi Qinghan over the years, and his ability to control the ancient massacre god was very strong. His superior aura was very powerful, and no one dared to refute him. The reorganization of the ancient massacre god went very smoothly. Even if there were people who were dissatisfied, they could not change the situation. In the end, they were all kicked out. In order to obtain the title of ancient slaughter god for these so-called geniuses, the powerful families had started to send gifts to them. Unfortunately, how could the 3 remaining elders dare to bend the law? If he wanted to join the ancient massacre god, he would have to risk his life. If he failed, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Di Longtian's iron-blooded policy attracted the cheers and support of the true elites, but it also made many aristocratic families complain. They all went to Owl War Planet to complain, hoping that Jian Chenxue could intercede for them. However, they were all kicked out of Owl War Planet by Jian Chenxue. Owl War Star was now a holy land, an existence above the Dao realm holy lands, let alone the ordinary aristocratic families. Even the divine halls had to listen to Owl War Star's orders. However, Owl War Star could not issue many orders. The Wang clan was too lazy to care about worldly affairs. Yi Mingxi was in seclusion all year round, trying to break through to the divine priest realm. She was also condensing her own godhood. Therefore, although Owl War Star was above the worldly affairs, only Jian Chenxue was qualified to issue orders. Anyone else's orders could be ignored. This was also to prevent some people from Owl War Star from becoming corrupted and polluting the endless plains. On Owl War Star, a group of little fellows were flying about in the sky and burrowing into the ground, making a ruckus. There were more than 10 little boys, most of them 5 or 6 years old, and there were more than 20 little girls of similar ages. They were all very cute and pretty, having inherited their parents' looks. Their talents were even more terrifying. There were more than 30 children, and the leader was none other than Yi Qingtian. He was the abnormal kid who called himself God Chintian the moment he was born. Void God Ye's aura was reserved, and he was different from Yi Chintian. They were two extremes. Half of Yi Chintian's nature came from Yi Qinghan's stability and arrogance, and the other half came from the divine bird's prenatal education. He was a little unreliable, and his actions were exaggerated. Void God Yi, on the other hand, inherited Emperor Ye's introverted and steady nature, cold but intelligent. However, the two little devils were afraid of Yun. This little girl's cunning eyes were frightening, and her personality was almost the same as the divine bird's. Her prenatal education was too powerful, and she could easily kill people. God Chintian, let's fight. Do you want to fight all of us alone, or do you want all of us to fight you? Yi Yunner's round little face had a strange smile. She looked very smart. Yi Chintian, there were more than 30 people. Not to mention Void God Yi, Lin Wuyan's son, Lin Feng with the sky sword body, Lu Outyen and Fairy Shenong's son, Lu Xinyu, and a group of monsters. Not to mention Yi Chintian. Even if a divine priest came, this group of children could take care of him. What? Aren't you called God Chenin, and you are invincible? Why don't you dare? Yi crossed her arms and asked with a pout. Who says I don't dare? But I have a stomachache today, and I'm not fit to fight. You guys play first, I'm going back to recuperate. Yi Chintian quibbled. After he finished speaking, he rushed back to his old house, and no one called him out. Haha, God Chintian admits defeat. Ha, the group of children were as close as brothers and sisters, and their laughter traveled far. The group of women covered their mouths and giggled. Jian Chenxue shook her head and sighed. Yi Chintian had inherited all the advantages of Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. In a one-on-one fight, Void God Yi was slightly stronger than him. Lin Feng with the sky sword body and Void God Yi together might be able to force Yi Chintian to a draw, but Yi Chintian would not be able to take on more than 30 monsters. Only Xiaoyan can take care of Chintian. This little guy is so arrogant all the time, he deserves to be taught a lesson. A young woman snickered. Yin was also very happy. If she could take care of Yi Chintian, she could take care of this group of children as well. She had become a lawless little princess. Xiao Zhanxing is boring. Let's go to the ancient god of massacre to play, okay? I heard that brother Xiao Tian is back, and he will reward us with a godhead. Let's go take the test, maybe we can get one. Yun said excitedly. Whoosh Yi Chintian, the little guy, rushed back from the ancestral house and shouted, I agree. It's much better than having a group of people beat me up. Aren't you sick? Void God Yi asked in a muffled voice. I've almost recovered, hee. Yi Chintian scratched his head and laughed. A group of 5 or 6-year-old children was so cute that they became the most beautiful scenery on Xiao Zhanxing. With this group of children, the Wang family had long forgotten about Yi Qinghan and Yi Mingxi. After everyone had finished discussing, Yi Chintian took the lead and led more than 35 or 6-year-old children out of Xiao Zhanxing, rushing toward the imperial domain. No one from Xiao Zhanxing followed them. They allowed the group of children to soar through the sky and burrow into the ground. These children's combat power was terrifying. Although they were young, if anyone dared to look down on them, they would be in serious trouble. Chapter 625. In the imperial domain, outside of the ancient massacre god, in the hunter's territory, numerous battles were taking place. Di Longtian began to mobilize the vitality of the entire boundless world, gathering geniuses, and preparing to bring the ancient massacre god into the mythical realm as well, creating an invincible battle team. Countless battles began at the same time. Just like in the past, all the different spaces opened at the same time, and life and death battles began. With the human sovereign sword, the ancient killing god finally returned to his original state, solemn and dignified, representing supreme power. Half of the Dao realm holy land of the past was restored, but the other half was forever buried in the river of history. The Zhan family recovered. The baby that was sent away in the past was actually the Zhan family's ancient war body. Now that he had become the family head, he was going to lead the Zhan family back to the peak. Owl War Star gave the Zhan family the greatest support, resources, secret techniques, and so on. The family head, Zhang Yun, had already entered the emperor realm. At this moment, he was mobilizing the faith power of the family, preparing to condense a godhead and become a supreme god. As a war body, he already had the dignity of his ancestor, not losing to Di Longtian. With the sky battle spear in hand, he was like a true war god. At this moment, Zhang Yun was heading to the ancient killing god to visit Di Longtian. If Di Longtian didn't count the days when he was sealed, he would be from the same era as him. He looked forward to seeing Di Longtian go to the mythical realm in advance. Xiao, dozens of figures flashed in the sky above the imperial domain. They were all 5 or 6 years old, and the oldest was no more than 7 years old. They were as fast as lightning, rushing in front of Zhang Yun. "Hey, big brother Yun." A group of little guys surrounded Zhang Yun and touched his armor and spear, looking very envious. Zhang Yun thought he knew this group of little ancestors. He smiled and hugged Yun, asking with a smile, "What are you little guys doing in the imperial domain?" "We heard that big brother Xiao Tian is back, so we came to disturb him and ask him to tell us about our father's battle results. This great god Chen Tian wants to go to the mythical realm to fight." Yi Chen Tian raised his little fist and said, "Ha, we have the same goal. Let's go see big brother Xiao Tian." Zhang Yun laughed and rushed towards the ancient killing god with a group of children. When such a large group of people rushed into the territory of the hunters, the appearance of so many children scared the ancient god of massacre. They must have come from the Owl War star. So, the ancient god of massacre took out spirit fruits and treasures to coax these kids. Yi Chen Tian and the others didn't care about divine pellets and miraculous medicines at all. It was better to give them spiritual fruits. Therefore, everyone took out spiritual fruits and rare treasures. The group of little fellows was very generous. They took out secret techniques and godhoods to exchange. The secret techniques were fine, but the godhoods were something that the group of killing gods didn't dare to accept. Di Longtian didn't stand on ceremony. Resources had to be fought for, and these little fellows didn't lack resources or talent. Even if they didn't need a godhead, they could still condense one. "Since you've given it to me, just accept it. There's no need to be courteous with them." Di Longtian laughed. "Brother Little Tian, take us to the mythical realm next time." Void God Yi looked at Di Longtian with a serious expression and said excitedly. Di Longtian rolled his eyes. If he took these little fellows to the mythical realm, the group of people from the inner sect would beat him to death. With so many little fellows, if something happened, the inner sect would probably go crazy. "You are still young. When you are my age, I will come and pick you up." Di Longtian didn't refuse. Instead, he drew a big pie that couldn't be eaten. "That will take a long time. After all, we are only 5 years old." Yin was helpless. Although they were smart, they were still too young. In addition, Jian Chenxue had sealed them for a period of time for them to grow up. Their real age was indeed only 5 years old. So there's no need to rush. If you want to go to war, you must first become a god and cultivate at least 3 powerful secret techniques. Once you have cultivated to the 3rd move of the great nirvana sword art, I will take you there. Di Longtian promised. Really? Yi Chen Tian was excited. He felt that cultivating a secret technique was very simple. However, he didn't know that Di Longtian was cheating him. Even Yi Qinghan himself had only cultivated to the 1st move of the great nirvana sword art. Di Longtian's lips curled into a sly smile as he nodded resolutely. "Join my ancient massacre god and speed up your cultivation. I will teach you how to go to war in the mythical plane. I will also tell you about your father." Di Longtian began to trick this group of little fellows, trying to get them to join the ancient massacre god. In the end, this group of little fellows didn't have much experience in scheming. They were immediately lured into the ancient massacre god by Di Longtian. Zhang Yun shrugged and looked at Di Longtian. This boy wasn't much older than him. He was very envious. It was a pity that he was born more than 10 years later. Otherwise, he would definitely be able to kill his way into the mythical plane like Di Longtian. However, this group of little fellows was also envious of Zhang Yun. At this moment, in the mythical plane, the Western Garrison Prefecture. Yi Qinghan couldn't have imagined that Di Longtian would actually trick those little fellows into joining the ancient godly massacre god after returning to the ancient godly massacre god, speeding up their journey to the mythological plane. Right now, they were bitterly cultivating secret arts and guarding the Western Suppression Prefecture. In the blink of an eye, more than a month had passed. The gathering of treasures from dozens of auction houses of the three clear divine kingdom had attracted thousands of powerful practitioners. Now, the Western Garrison Prefecture was filled with danger from all sides. Even the Western Garrison Liege Lord had to be extra careful. After obtaining the 12th grade fire origin, Silo had actually awakened the ancient massacre god's bloodline. The inheritance of the fire sovereign god's bloodline made him extremely majestic. His battle strength had increased by several times. The tempering of his body was almost not inferior to Yi Qinghan. He was still wearing that bamboo hat. It was as black as ink. His original appearance couldn't be seen. With the ancient massacre god's bloodline, it was easy to cultivate a secret technique. Yi Qinghan had taken a long time to execute the first move of the great Nirvana sword art. Moreover, its power wasn't even 30% of its peak. Silo had actually used a month to cultivate the first move. Its power had reached 50% of its peak. On this day, Yi Qinghan slowly got up and calculated the time. Today should be the day of the Western Garrison Prefecture's auction. He had to cooperate with the Western Garrison Lord to move the treasures to the auction house and guard the auction house. When he arrived outside Silo's room, Silo had just come out of seclusion. His aura had become deep and silent. He was like a volcano that could erupt at any moment and could destroy all life in his vicinity. Let's go take a look at the auction. You might like something. Yi Qinghan smiled and said, I don't have money. Silo was helpless. He had been on the run all year round. How could he have the opportunity to earn divine crystals? Count it on me. You can slowly pay me back in the future. Yi Qinghan grinned. He always wanted to tie Silo to his chariot. Silo wouldn't be able to escape even if he wanted to. He wasn't afraid of how many divine crystals Silo would use. He was only afraid that Silo wouldn't use enough. Then I won't be polite. Silo shrugged. He already owed Yi Qinghan a favor. Just this fire origin alone had awakened the ancient massacre god's bloodline. It was enough for him to repay this debt for a long time. In addition to the great Nirvana sword art, why would he care about using Yi Qinghan's divine crystals? The two found the Western Garrison Lord and began to move the treasures to the auction house. Chapter 626. Yi Qinghan was dressed in black and wore a bamboo hat. He walked side by side with Si Luo into the West Garrison auction house. At this moment, the West Garrison Prefecture was packed with people. The army of the West Garrison Prefecture had all retreated back to the outskirts of the city. They were afraid that there would be experts causing trouble. There were many strangers. Even those who were as strong as the prefecture head could be seen. Most of them were gods and overlords. Ordinary families were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. Some rich young masters and chief disciples of the sects were accompanied by Tao protectors as they descended to the West Garrison. The divine bird sat on Long Shue's shoulder, trying to trick her. Fortunately, Long Shue had been warned by the Western Garrison Liege Lord. Otherwise, she would have been tricked by the divine bird. In any case, Long Shue was a princess of a royal family, an evil little witch. Although she had no wisdom, she was smart. However, she couldn't outsmart the divine bird. In the end, she still got into trouble. A few young experts appeared in front of her. They were dressed in Tian-Ke Divine College's uniform. Each of them was arrogant and full of battle intent. Their battle strength was definitely not weak. Moreover, they had a huge family behind them. They didn't care about this small West Garrison. Get out of my way. The leader was a powerful young man. He had the battle strength of an extreme lower-level almighty. Just by his realm alone, he could suppress those of the same level. Coupled with his high status as a divine college disciple, ordinary people wouldn't dare to provoke him. His name was Su Feiyue. He was a top expert in the second year of Tian-Ke Divine College. He was even stronger than Mu Feilong. Behind him were 3 men and 4 women. Behind him was the 12th rank Su family. They had 10,000 years of history. Many people recognized their origins and hurriedly made way for them. Fuck, these birds are more arrogant than you. Beat them to death. The divine bird was angry when it saw the Tian K Divine College's disciples. It wanted to teach them a lesson, but it didn't dare to do it. Long Shui curled her lips. Although she didn't like these people in front of her, listening to the divine bird's words would definitely cause trouble. Therefore, she suppressed her anger and ignored the divine bird. Seeing that Long Shui was holding back, the divine bird snorted. It looked at Su Feiyue and the others who ran in front of it. It took a deep breath and spat out a mouthful of fire. Then, it changed its voice and imitated Long Shui's voice. The Divine College actually teaches such trash. Unable to withstand a single blow. After saying this, the divine bird quickly lay on Long Shui's shoulder and pretended to be dead. Su Feiyue and the others had their backs set ablaze by the divine fire, and their hair was instantly burnt away. The tearing pain caused them to scream in agony. Although the divine bird's fire was not as powerful as the little golden crows and Yi Qinghan's, it was enough to make the lesser gods feel pain. The heart-wrenching screams of the delicate girls instantly alerted the surrounding experts. They all turned their heads and saw the girls dancing with joy. Gloating smiles appeared on their faces. With a wave of his hand, Su Feiyue extinguished the flames and glared at Long Shui. Seeing that she was a beauty, he cursed, "Slut, you dare to sneak attack my people? Today I'll properly take care of you." Boom. Su Feiyue stretched out his hand and tore open space, grabbing at Long Shui. Clearly, he didn't know that she was the beloved daughter of the Western Garrison. Long Shui had never been scolded like this before. She directly used the divine tool that the Western Garrison Liege Lord had given her, which contained the peak attack of the Western Garrison Liege Lord. Boom. Bang. Su Feiyue's palm was pierced through by the sword. Even his entire arm was blown to smithereens. He let out a blood-curdling scream and fell into the distance, smashing several of his followers into the ground. "You dare to scold this princess? I'll beat you to death." Bang bang bang. With the help of the Garrison Liege Lord's offensive divine tool, Long Shui instantly suppressed Su Feiyue and began to fight with the group of pursuers. A large number of guards arrived. When they saw that their princess was actually fighting with these people without any reason, more than 100 low-level god priests were ganging up on these 7 or 8 disciples of the Heavenly Imperial Divine Academy. Miserable screams immediately filled the sky. Everyone hurriedly dodged. "Serves you right for being so arrogant. Haha, this is going to be a good show." The princess of the Western Garrison Liege Lord and the disciples of the Heavenly Imperial Divine Academy are fighting. I wonder if the people behind them will be angered. Those who were able to attend the auction all had high statuses. They didn't want to become enemies with these two parties, but that didn't mean that they didn't dare to gloat. "Throw them out of the Western Garrison Liege Lord's residence." Long Shui angrily reprimanded. "You bitch, I'm going to kill you today." In any case, Su Feiyue was the young master of a large aristocratic family and a high and mighty student of the Heavenly Imperial Divine Academy. How could he endure such humiliation? He directly roared, and his voice shook 1,000 miles. He wanted to attract the experts of his family. Long Shui was so angry that her whole body trembled. She had always been the one bullying others. How could she be bullied by others? "Hang this bastard up on the city wall for this princess. I want to beat him to death." Long Shui roared. A large number of guards rushed towards Su Feiyue and the others, preparing to use the god-binding chains to tie this group of people up so that Long Shui could vent her anger. "All of you stop." A low, angry roar filled with dense killing intent caused the surrounding people to not dare to move. It was the aura of a mid-level almighty expert. The elder of the Su family, Su Chuan, took a step forward and looked down. He stared at Su Feiyue, Long Shui and the others and coldly said, "What? Are you bullying us because we're outsiders?" Long Shui was about to go crazy from anger. The divine bird was playing dead. Only now did she understand that this fellow was really despicable to the extreme. "This princess is bullying you guys? This trash of yours called me a despicable person the moment he opened his mouth. I want the Su family to give me an explanation. Otherwise, I will definitely kill him and no one will be able to stop me. Long Shui angrily rebuked. Ancestor, she was the one who set the fire and attacked us first. She humiliated my divine college and even used her guards to beat us. She clearly doesn't put my Su family and Tian-Ke divine college in her eyes. Su Feiyue wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with grievance, Haha, you can ask everyone around here if I was the one who set the fire just now. Don't tell me that everyone in this world is my Western garrison's servant. They won't lie, right? If they say that I ambushed you, I will kneel and apologize to you. If I wasn't the one who ambushed you, I want you to die. Do you dare to agree? Long Shui asked with a cold smile. I dare. Su Feiyue roared without hesitation. Everyone, was I the one who set the fire and ambushed them? I only want to ask, was it me? Whoever saw it can testify for me. Long Shui stared at everyone. Most of them were unfamiliar faces, but there were quite a few experts. Everyone laughed. This Su Feiyue was really unlucky. This fire really wasn't set by the Dragon Princess? Ha! The people behind all testified, but they didn't point out that the fire was set by the divine bird. After all, both sides wanted an answer to confirm whether the fire was set by the princess or not. Su Chuan's face immediately turned ugly. It was impossible for so many people to be lying, especially those old bastards. They were all medium god priests, and some of them were even acquaintances. It was enough that it wasn't Long Shui who ambushed them. No matter who it was, today's conflict was Su Feiyue's fault. Boom! Su Chuan kicked Su Feiyue and sealed his divine power. He didn't even allow him to speak. Then he cupped his fists and said, Princess Long, Feiyue definitely didn't mean to offend you. This child is in the wrong. I will definitely bring him back and discipline him strictly. I hope that princess can be magnanimous and not bicker with him. Tisk Tsk, Tian-Ke Divine College really teaches a bunch of idiots? The divine bird took advantage of the situation and still acted innocent. Tian-Ke Divine College was implicated and was thoroughly humiliated. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. They were all amused by the divine bird's cheap appearance. Chapter 627. Yi Qinghan stood in front of the auction house, watching the divine bird teasing the disciples of Tian-Ke Divine College. Tian-Ke Divine College had already established a hostile relationship with Yi Qinghan, and it was only a matter of time before a fight broke out. You seem to have more enemies than I do, Sairo said in a low and hoarse voice. It's all right. If I want to reach the peak, I have to step on all these people. Yi Qinghan turned around and walked into the auction house. The interior design was similar to the Crazy Mansion auction house, but it was slightly smaller. It was divided into 4 levels, and the upper levels were all VIP areas. The 4th level was for Mansion Masters, and the 3rd level was for Extreme Middle God Almighties. The 2nd level was for Ordinary Middle God Almighties, and some Ordinary Family Heads, Sect Masters, and Elders. The 1st level was for Ordinary Lower God Almighties, and there were even quite a few Emperor-level figures. However, those who dared to come to the auction house had to have a high status. Let's go to the private rooms on the 4th level. Yi Qinghan led Sairo to the 4th level. There were more than 50 private rooms on the 4th level, and they were arranged in a circle. The ceiling was like a dome. The private rooms had already been reserved in advance. Other than some prefecture masters and prefecture masters, there were also some extreme Dao Almighties and top-notch existences in the Middle God Shrine. Their identities and backgrounds were all extraordinary. Yi Qinghan used his identity as Western Garrison Liege Lord to secure the last private room. Private room number 52. The two were dressed in black, and they were very eye-catching. However, no one recognized them as Crazy Mansion Master Yi Qinghan and Sairo, who was ranked 8th on the Wind Cloud list. In the open-air corridor, Yi Qinghan led Sairo into private room number 52. From the private room, one could see the entire auction house clearly. There were more than 30,000 people in this auction house. Western Garrison Liege Lord personally sat on the auction stage. He was wearing a royal robe, and his divine aura was overwhelming. The people below the third level did not dare to make a sound. The mansion masters on the fourth level were as cold iron, and they only looked at the treasures without talking. Fellow Taoists, this auction organized by the Three Clear Divine Kingdom has collected all the supreme treasures in the world, from primal chaos supreme treasures to top-tier mid-tier divine artifacts, and even half-step high-tier divine artifacts to top-tier emperor-tier divine herbs. All of them are the best of the best among the various grades of divine artifacts. Top emperor-tier divine artifacts, 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 top emperor-tier divine artifacts. The auction house will open today, and the auction will last for 10 days. I'm sure everyone knows the rules of the auction. The highest bidder will win, and no one is allowed to use their power to oppress others. If I find out that someone is using their power to oppress others, I won't let them off easily. Lord Zhen Shi swept his gaze over the crowd, looking incomparably dignified. Finally, his gaze landed on the fourth floor. These people were the hardest to please. There were only a little over 100 of them, and they occupied 52 private rooms. However, their origins were not simple. Many of them were from God's organization. Even if they were not, they were still powerful existences at the level of prefecture masters. They were not any weaker than Lord Zhen Shi. However, Western Garrison Liege Lord was not worried about this auction. The Garrison Liege Lord had sent 3 mansion masters to help him guard this auction house. In addition to Yi Qinghan and Cairo, 3 to 5 mansion masters who wanted to cause trouble could be suppressed. As for the other forces, even if they dared to cause trouble, they would have to consider whether the forces behind them could contend against the Garrison Liege Lord. This Garrison Liege Lord is naturally happy, but those who make things difficult for this Garrison Liege Lord, I will make them very sad. Western Garrison Liege Lord first gave a warning. There were more than 30,000 people, and it was unknown how many of them were overlords. They were unruly and difficult to serve. Without a warning, they would not know how to restrain themselves. All the heroes were silent. They knew that before the auction started, there would be a routine of intimidation. Most of the time, no one dared to cause trouble in the auction house. However, if someone really did cause trouble, the Western Garrison Liege Lord wouldn't be able to intimidate the other party. Once that kind of person turned hostile, they definitely wouldn't put the Divine Nation and the Western Garrison Prefecture in their eyes. For example, even the Divine Nation's Divine Lord would have to give face to the last disciple of a superior god. Soon, Western Garrison Liege Lord announced the start of the auction. The appraiser was the head appraiser of the Three Clear Divine Nation, Sima Sun. His name was well known everywhere. None of the goods sold by him were defective. Everyone could rest assured. The auctioneer was even more famous. Her name was known throughout the divine realm. Not only was her auction skills top-notch, but her appearance was also one of the top 10 beauties in the divine realm. She was ranked 8th, and her name was Yao Yen. It was said that her true form was a 9-tailed demon fox. She emitted a charming and enchanting aura. When the two appeared, the atmosphere in the auction house reached a boiling point. Many men looked at Yao Yen with infatuation, wishing that they could pounce on her. Yao Yen was indeed very pretty and charming. Her eyebrows were naturally shaped, making people infatuated with her. With such a person in charge of the auction, it would definitely arouse the bestial nature of men and make them flaunt their wealth. Yi Qinghan looked at Yao Yan's voluptuous figure and entered deep thought. Then, he thought to himself, if I can rope her in to join the Wild Mansion auction house, the Wild Mansion auction house would be halfway to success. However, such a woman was not that easy to rope in. Not to mention her beauty, her strength was already close to the level of a manor master. Who in the world would not give her face? Just at this moment, Long Shui followed the divine bird and tiptoed into private room 52. Then, she looked down with an expression of anticipation. Seniors, fellow Taoists, clan heads, and various overlords, how are you? Welcome to the Western Garrison Auction House. This time, this humble girl, Yao Yen, will be in charge of auctioning the various grades of divine herbs and supreme treasures. I hope that everyone will bid enthusiastically. Please do not make things difficult for this humble girl. Yao Yen smiled charmingly and gently blinked her right eye. A star-like light flashed and entered everyone's eyes. Many low-ranked cultivators nearly went into shock on the spot. Don't. Many people's heartbeats quickened. Yao Yan's gaze was filled with charm, indiscriminately attacking the hearts of everyone on the 4th floor and below. Even those on the 4th floor were affected. From this, one could see how terrifying her charm was. Long Shui snorted and said disdainfully, "Vixen, you rely on your beauty to attract people. What a bunch of lustful men. No matter how much they cultivate, they will never be able to change their greed." "That might not be the case. My master does not love women," the divine bird retorted. Long Shui looked at Yi Qinghan. He was currently drinking drunken god wine with Sairo. He did not even look at Yao Yen. Her eyes filled with stars as she rejoiced inwardly, as expected of the wild mansion master, Yi Qinghan. "The man I admire is too handsome. Don't be infatuated with my master. Little master will beat you up." The divine bird mocked when it saw Long Shui's infatuated expression. Long Shui glared at the divine bird, unwilling to say anything more. She turned to look at Yao Yen. At this moment, Yao Yen took out a brocade box and smiled like a flower. Then, she said in a melodious voice, "Since everyone is so excited, let the auction begin. The first supreme treasure is something I carefully selected. It will definitely not disappoint everyone. It is a consummation profound mystery, the thunder profound mystery. It is suitable for experts of all levels. As long as you comprehend this profound mystery, why should you worry about not reaching the peak of the great Tao?" Chapter 628. It had to be said that Yao Yen was indeed good at auctioning. First, she charmed everyone. Then, she stirred up their emotions and chose a supreme treasure suitable for experts of various levels. As the first item to be auctioned, the Thunder Profound Mysteries Jade Strip was sufficient to move everyone. Even a manor master would be attracted. At the very least, Yi Qinghan would be attracted. After obtaining the Thunder Profound Mysteries and comprehending the Thunder Profound Mysteries to consummation, one could merge the Thunder Profound Mysteries into the 5-element Tao body and start forging the Primal Chaos Tao body. To Yi Qinghan, any origin mysteries were supreme treasures, divine treasures that he had to fight for. Just as the countless experts in the auction hall were getting excited, Yao Yen waved the jade strip in her hand. Every action she took was filled with charm. She smiled and said, "This Thunder Profound Mysteries can be cultivated to consummation. Furthermore, there are cultivation insights. It is a peak rank 12 Origin Mysteries Jade Strip and is even useful to manor masters. The starting bid is 3 million medial grade Divine Spirit Crystals. Each bid must not be less than 100,000. 3,200,000. 3,500,000. Right after Yao Yen spoke, some of the overlords started to make aggressive bids, increasing the bid by more than 100,000. This time, they were not trying to curry favor with Yao Yen. Instead, they truly wanted to obtain the Thunder Profound Mysteries. Too many people participated in the bidding, instantly eliminating a portion of them. Later on, an additional 100,000 medial-grade Divine Spirit Crystals would eliminate some of them. Regretful faces filled the hall. Curses rang out endlessly. The auction house did not allow anyone to buy on credit. One could buy as much as they brought in divine crystals. In the blink of an eye, the price of the Thunder Profound Mysteries rose to 5,500,000 medial-grade Divine Spirit Crystals. The second floor and the third floor all joined in the bidding. However, no one from the 4th floor made a bid. Even if one cultivated the Thunder Profound Mysteries to the highest level, It would not be as good as a manor master's secret technique. They would not waste large amounts of money to compete with a group of juniors for treasures. When Yao Yen discovered that the fourth floor was not in the mood to bid, she could not help but shake her head regretfully. Just at this moment, Yi Qinghan suddenly changed his tone and said, 6 million. The hall immediately fell silent. Even the overlords and clan heads on the second and third floor looked at the fourth floor, raising the bid by nearly 1 million medial-grade divine spirit crystals in one go. Furthermore, it came from a private room on the fourth floor. 6,020,000. It was a young man from the third floor. He wore a golden battle robe, and he looked vigorous and resolute. His eyes were filled with untamed arrogance. Even though he was facing an expert from the fourth floor, he still wasn't willing to give up on the mysteries of the essence of lightning. His eyes were like flames as he looked toward booth 52. He was telling Yi Qinghan that he absolutely had to obtain this jade slip. As for Yao Yen, she looked at booth 52 with anticipation. She hoped that the two of them would start competing and raise the price of the first supreme treasure to a high price. It's someone from the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom's Lei clan. His name is Thunder King, and he has the heavenly thunder physique. To him, the profound mysteries of thunder is his life. I reckon he'll go bankrupt. Long Shui reminded him in a low voice. The Lei clan is on good terms with father. There's nothing to be gained from fighting. The Thunder King was ranked 16th on the Wind Cloud ranking. He was of the lightning attribute and had an unyielding character. Relying on the heavenly lightning body, he could command the origin of all lightning in the world. If he had this jade strip, he would be like a tiger that had grown wings. Yi Qinghan fell silent. It was not that he wanted to compromise with the Lei clan, but that he did not want to become enemies with the Thunder King. Perhaps he could still rely on him for the arena competition. The Thunder King had not expected that the people in the fourth floor would give up just because he had tried to raise the price. Those people were all support-level existences. They would not care about this bit of divine crystals. Furthermore, they cared about face. After being humiliated in front of everyone, they would probably do everything they could to obtain the profound mysteries of thunder. Seeing Yi Qinghan give up, the Thunder King bowed respectfully. He owed Yi Qinghan a favor. Yao Yen sighed helplessly. This price was not high. At the very least, it was not ideal. Just when everyone thought that the dust had settled, another voice rang out from the third floor. 6,500,000. The voice was ear-piercing, tickling everyone's ears. It was very unpleasant to hear. Yi Qinghan looked down at the third floor and saw a wretched and cunning young man looking at the Thunder King provocatively. It was as if he was afraid that the Thunder King would not compete. It's this idiot again. This bastard has been going against Big Brother Thunder King time and time again. Could it be that their attributes really clash? Long Shui felt helpless. She knew that it would be difficult for the Thunder King to obtain the profound mysteries of thunder today. Yi Qinghan was curious. He asked indifferently, "Who is this person?" "He is from the three clear divine nations Shui clan. His name is Shui Hua, and he has always been at odds with the Thunder King. They have both represented their respective divine nations in the past and fought to a draw several times. He is ranked 17th on the Wind Cloud list. Most importantly, this Shui clan is a nouveau riche clan. Their clan owns a divine crystal mine that frequently produces high-grade divine crystals. Therefore, they do not take divine crystals seriously." The divine bird mocked in disdain. Suddenly, he raised the price of the profound mysteries of thunder to 10 million. Furthermore, he imitated the Thunder King's voice, which was deep and mighty. 10 million. In order to disgust the Thunder King, Shui Hua did not hesitate to raise the price. 15 million. When it was time to raise the price, he discovered that it was not the Thunder King who raised the price. Instead, it was the person on the fourth floor. Furthermore, the person on the fourth floor had fallen silent and stopped bidding. Shui Hua's expression could not help changing. 15 million mid-grade divine crystals. Even a prefecture master would feel the pinch. Furthermore, this was Shui Hua. More importantly, he cultivated the profound mysteries of water. Water and thunder were incompatible, just like fire and water. This profound mysteries of thunder were of no use to him. Idiot, I don't want it anymore. Deal. The divine bird cried out and even helped Yao Yen clinch the deal. Shui Hua felt as if he had swallowed a fly. He was truly disgusted. He thought that by angering the Thunder King would pay a high price for the profound mysteries of thunder. However, he did not expect that he would be disgusted by the person on the 4th floor instead. The hall below burst into laughter. For a profound mystery that he had no use for, he wasted 15 million mid-grade divine crystals. Only Shui Hua could do such a stupid thing. Lowly bird, you are too lowly. I like it. Long Shui laughed so hard that her face was about to twitch. She kept slamming the table as she spoke. Stinking girl, if you dare to humiliate this divine bird again, I will sell you off as well, the divine bird said coldly. Long Shui's expression immediately turned unsightly. She quickly stopped laughing and looked out the window unhappily. Is there anyone else who wants to make a higher bid? Yao Yen was also amused, covering her mouth as she smiled faintly. Although she knew that no one would be willing to be a spendthrift, she still had to go through the formalities and ask. After asking 3 times, the matter was settled. At Shui Hua's place, an old man glared at him and reprimanded, "Idiot! Do you think that our clan's resources come out of the water? 15 million mid-grade divine crystals is enough for the clan's children to cultivate for 3 years. You have wasted all of it." Shui Hua glared at room 52 on the 4th floor. He was angry, but he did not dare to say anything. He did not know who the person on the 4th floor was. Chapter 629. Long Shui got what she wanted. However, the divine bird insisted on buying the divine robe for 300,000 divine spirit stones for 300,000 divine spirit stones. In the end, Long Shui paid the price of 300,000 medial-grade divine crystals to obtain the heavenly silk robe. She could not wait to try it on. With a strange divine bird like the divine bird around, the things it did not want could always rip off a layer of skin. Regardless of whether one liked it or not, it would always raise the price. Furthermore, when it raised the price, it would change its tone. Someone would get angry and become the scapegoat. Yao Yen did not know whether to thank Booth 52 or feel angry. The divine bird bought all the good things at low prices. The ordinary things were sold to others at high prices. Booth 52 became the target of everyone. Many people looked at the 4th floor angrily. Even some prefecture master-level experts were curious about the identity of the person in the booth. After several hundred rank 5 items were auctioned off, the divine bird remained quiet for a while. Everyone felt somewhat uncomfortable, feeling like they were masochistic. They could not help feeling disgusted. Soon, some of the ordinary divine treasures were almost sold out. The treasures that appeared later were very valuable. They were either 12th rank divine skills or 12th rank divine weapons. Heavenly materials and earthly treasures were all top-notch, which attracted the crazy bidding of the crowd. However, the 4th floor remained deathly silent, even somewhat disappointed. Yao Yen looked at the items on the auction list and casually called over a strong medial-grade god priest. Then, she said indifferently, "Bring this up. This will be the next item." The medial-grade god priest bowed slightly before leaving. Soon, a prefecture master-level expert carried a brocade box over and placed it on the auction platform. Then he retreated behind Yao Yen. However, he did not leave. Instead, he chose to guard this item. It looked like it was worth a lot. The mood on the 4th floor finally stirred. Many people sat up straight and looked down at the hall. Yao Yen took a sip of spirit tea and looked at the crowd. Then she said, "The next supreme treasure is the fiend dragon's blood, a true ancient dragon bloodline. It is a heaven-defying existence that can change an expert's bloodline. It can even kill a medial-grade god priest with a weak physical body. There is only 1 drop of essence blood, but it contains supreme power. The owner of the fiend dragon's blood cannot use it and can only auction it. There is only 1 drop. If you miss it, you might never get it again." Damn. Who is selling this? How freaking extravagant. If he refined this drop of dragon blood, he would possess the bloodline of the ancient colossal dragon tribe. This is the legendary chief god's bloodline. Don't be envious. After all, I'm not in the mythical realm. I can only contact a fellow cultivator and ask him to send some to you. You can return them to him when the time comes. The Nine Serenities Master was in a good mood. Seeing Yi Qinghan take the initiative to compromise was sweeter than eating honey. Lend me 5 million high-grade divine crystals. I'll return them to him as soon as possible. Yi Qinghan coughed dryly. 5 million high-grade divine crystals was not a small sum. Even the divine masters of the divine kingdoms would think about it for a long time. However, since the Nine Serenities Master had asked for it, it should not be a problem to borrow 5 million high-grade divine crystals, right? 5 million high-grade divine crystals? Are you trying to buy a small plane? The Nine Remoteness Lord asked in a very displeased tone, glaring at Long Chen with rage. I have a drop of giant dragon blood essence at the auction house of the West Garrison Mansion. It's enough for me to change my body constitution. There are many other treasures after that. I want to buy them all. So, Master, you must help me this once. You're the Nine Serenities Master, so you must know some super beings. You should be able to fork out these few divine crystals, right? Yi Qinghan was going all out in order to borrow divine crystals. High-grade divine crystals are not jelly beans. You can ask for them whenever you want. 5 million? Alright, I'll ask around. I'll send you at least 3 million in the time it takes for 3 incense sticks to burn. You can buy time on your own. The Nine Serenities Master thought for a moment and then cut off the connection. Inside the auction house, everyone was looking at the 4th floor in a frenzy. The people on the 4th floor were fighting. That was the most exciting thing. In the first box, it was obvious that the people from God's organization were there. A deacon of God's organization and a powerful prefecture master. There were 4 of them. In order to intimidate the others, they all stood up and told everyone that this drop of dragon blood was theirs. It seemed like this drop of dragon blood had been advertised countless times by the auction house. This time, not only were the upper echelons of God's organization present, even the upper echelons of the 3 divine colleges, the upper echelons of the 3 divine kingdoms, and some of the top overlords were present. Ordinary prefecture masters would not dare to compete with these overlords because they represented the superior gods behind them. They were here to buy the dragon blood. You want to compete? Silo was astonished. The starting price was 300,000 high-grade spirit crystals. Perhaps it could go up to 2 million. Even a divine kingdom would feel the pinch if they took out so many high-grade spirit crystals at once. Only a superior god priest could afford it. Yi Qinghan was just a newly risen prefecture master. This has nothing to do with you. Scram into your box. If you dare to come out again, I'll break your legs. Yi Qinghan's face was ashen. Yao Zilong was simply too powerful. Moreover, his 5 elements were not stable right now. His combat strength was far inferior to a palace master of this level. He was simply not a match for him. Treasures belong to those who have the money. Why does it have nothing to do with me? Could it be that you want to rely on your strength to snatch it? I can bid as long as I have divine crystals. Aren't your methods a little too overbearing? Yi Qinghan coldly replied. Ha! What a great, those who have the money will get it. My god's organization has enough high-grade divine crystals to crush you to death. You're just a puny palace master who has just risen up. Do you even have high-grade divine crystals? You dare to arrogantly claim that you have the money in front of this old man? Overbearing? My god's organization has the capital to be overbearing. Yao Zilong laughed and mocked. At this moment, many people laughed. It was especially so for the palace master-level experts on the 4th floor. They represented the High God Temple and understood what the price of 300,000 high-grade divine crystals represented. It meant that other than the 3 great divine academies, the 3 great divine kingdoms, God's organization, and some other overlords, no one else had the qualifications to bid. Even if Yi Qinghan had high-grade divine crystals, it was impossible for him to take out 300,000. Even if he could take out 300,000, he still wouldn't have the qualifications to bid. The person who came from Tian-Ke Divine Academy was the dean of a department. He had a noble status and was incomparably dignified. At this moment he looked coldly at Yi Qinghan and said indifferently, "Little brat, just because you have some talent, you dare to compete with everyone in the world. Didn't your elders teach you how to be a proper person? This old man has lived in the mythical plane for a long time and has seen countless geniuses. They were much stronger than you, but in the end, they all fell because of their arrogance. With your talent, you don't even have the qualifications to be arrogant. I advise you to be more honest and be a stable palace master. In any case, you won't be in this position for long." Black lines appeared on the foreheads of the people from the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom. It was fine if Yi Qinghan was a little arrogant, but to participate in the bidding for the giant dragon bloodline was too much. It felt like he was courting death. At this moment, someone finally voiced out in support of Yi Qinghan. It wasn't the royal family of the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom, but the Heavenbreaker Academy and the Aragami Academy. The three academies competed with each other, and their relationship had always been bad. Once they saw an opportunity to suppress each other, they would definitely make a move. I feel that Dao friend Yi Qinghan is right. Regardless of whether he has the qualifications to bid or not, Tian-Ke Divine Academy shouldn't humiliate him, right? Dao friend Shi Yuchuan, do you think my words are reasonable? Grand Venerable Xuan, the dean of the Aragami Academy's refining department, said lightly. Shi Yuchuan was naturally the dean of the Heavenbreaker Academy. When he saw Man Hu and Han Shua's ugly expressions, he immediately said, "The whole world is watching. As a great teacher of the Divine College, use your brain when you speak. You're a role model, but you're doing something worse than a whore. You're a disgrace to the Divine College." This time, the Tian-Ke Divine College had lost all of its face, especially Man Gu, who was fuming with anger. His sage-like face had turned purple. The three divine colleges had actually started a fight. God's organization didn't want to interfere, and the three divine kingdoms didn't want to either. After all, the three divine kingdoms had nurtured countless experts over the years. Perhaps even the big shots of God's organization had received favors from the divine college. Fellow cultivators, this is an auction house. If you have any personal grudges, please settle them after the auction ends and after we leave the Western Garrison Prefecture. Today is an auction. Can you give me some face? Yao Yen said in a crisp voice with a gentle smile. When a beauty spoke, everyone was willing to give her face. Everyone quieted down. After this quarrel, the time it took for an incense stick to burn passed. However, there were still 2 incense sticks left. Did the auction of dragon blood need 2 incense sticks? Yi Qinghan was extremely anxious. In the 9 Serenities realm, the 9 Serenities master directly used a powerful plane projection technique and projected a clone into the forbidden area of the Holy Dragon Divine Kingdom. The terrifying pressure instantly woke up the old monsters who were in seclusion. A mighty divine aura caused a heaven-defying divine light to shine in the forbidden area. An old, turbid pair of eyes suddenly opened. Looking at the phantom in the sky, he was shocked and asked, "Senior 9 Serenities, how come you have the time to come to this kid's place?" The 9 Remoteness Lord had lived for far too long. He had comprehended the cycle of reincarnation, and although he wasn't an over-god, he was immortal and indestructible. Even the old freaks of the theocracy would have to address him as a senior. The 9 Serenities master said indifferently, "Xiaolong, this old man has taken in a disciple. He's currently in the Divine Kingdom's West Garrison and is lacking some high-grade divine crystals. Help me deliver some. This old man owes you a favor." Long Yuan, who had existed in the world for more than 1,000,000 years and was called Xiaolong by others, was flattered. It wasn't good to owe the 9 Serenities master a favor. Which high god priest in the entire Middle Plane didn't want the 9 Serenities master to owe them a favor? Senior 9 Serenities, this Xiaolong is too kind. Please tell me how much you need. I'll deliver it personally. Long Yuan was extremely old and was about to depart. Even high god priests couldn't live forever. 2,000,000 years was the end of their lifespan. He didn't have much time left. Between 3 to 5 million. Don't touch the Divine Kingdom's foundation. I can't afford it if it affects the fortune. The Nine Serenities master said indifferently, his name is Yi Qinghan. Don't tell the world that he's my disciple. He needs to walk his own path in life. Don't interfere. Long Yuan quickly nodded and said, Senior, don't worry. This Xiaolong won't interfere. When does he need it? Deliver it to him within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. After that, come to the Nine Serenities land. The Nine Serenities master waved his hand and disappeared from the forbidden area. Long Yuan was so excited that his body trembled. His lifespan was approaching. If he could receive the Nine Serenities master's guidance, he would definitely be able to break through. Soon, Long Yuan came out of seclusion and took away 4 million high-grade divine crystals. Even the divine masters were shocked. More than half of the divine crystals in the divine kingdom's treasury had been taken away. If he took away more, it would threaten the divine kingdom's foundation. They couldn't understand why the old ancestor was so excited to take away so many divine crystals. Long Yuan was a high god priest. His divine sense instantly covered the entire divine kingdom. In a flash, he appeared in the sky above the Western Garrison Prefecture. At this moment, the price in the auction house had exceeded 1 million. Many experts had given up. 1 million high-grade divine crystals. It was an astronomical number. If converted to low-grade divine crystals, it was enough to bury an entire prefecture alive. Yi Qinghan was also anxious. He still couldn't make a bid because he didn't have any high-grade divine crystals on hand. 1,300,000 high-grade divine crystals. God's organization called out a high price again. They were determined to get the dragon blood. The 3 divine academies fell silent. It wasn't worth spending so many high-grade divine crystals for a single drop of dragon blood. Moreover, the highest price that the experts behind them had given had already been exceeded. Yao Yan was excited. She continuously scanned the 4th floor, hoping for someone to bid. Unfortunately, she was disappointed. 55,000 going thrice. Sold. Congratulations to Manor Lord Yi for purchasing 5 Primal Chaos Heavenly Lotus Seeds at the lowest price. Yao Yan said with a bitter smile. Many thanks. Just bring them up, Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Soon, a middle-ranked god priest walked up with the Primal Chaos Heavenly Lotus Seed and withdrew 55,000 superior-grade divine crystals. Yi Qinghan also gave him 100 medial-grade divine crystals as a tip. The middle-ranked god priest walked down with a smile. 100 medial-grade divine crystals was already quite a lot. After that, more than a dozen treasures were auctioned off. Some were priced at mid-grade, and some were even priced at low-grade divine crystals. There were also some that were priced at high-grade divine crystals. The total value exceeded 100,000 high-grade divine crystals, but Yi Qinghan monopolized all of them. He didn't give anyone face. How stubborn! He spent more than 100 million inferior-grade divine crystals, 30 million medial-grade divine crystals, and 80,000 superior-grade divine crystals. This fellow is not a prince in disguise, right? Nonsense. Not to mention a prince, even a divine master might not be willing to use so many divine crystals to buy so many treasures. Everyone was going crazy. Yi Qinghan did not give anyone a chance. It was as if he wanted to take away all the auction items to equip his insane manor army. Long Shui stared at Yi Qinghan in shock. She felt that this fellow was not only aloof but also a rich tycoon. He was not lustful and was simply the best in the world. On the first day, Yi Qinghan swept through the second half of the auction and took away countless treasures. He spent a total of 1.5 million superior-grade divine crystals. On the auction house's dome, Long Yuan was still standing in the sky. No one had noticed his arrival. At this moment, his hair was white and he had the demeanor of an immortal. His eyes were full of wisdom and his turbid eyes were unfathomable. Long Shan, it's me, the Patriarch. Long Yuan found the Sacred Dragon Divine Kingdom's private room across the auction house and transmitted his voice to a middle-aged royal family expert. Long Shan trembled. There was only one person in the royal family who dared to call himself the Patriarch. He had been in seclusion for nearly 10,000 years and had not appeared. He walked to the window and patrolled several times, but he could not find Long Yuan's hiding place. "Don't look for me. I'm on the roof. Listen carefully. I gave Yi Qinghan the superior grade divine crystals. I want you to protect him well, but do not interfere with his life. Do not tell anyone, including himself. Do you understand?" Long Yuan said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan's flesh was torn apart. The dragon blood completely ignored his powerful body, and even his metal origin was torn apart. If it weren't for the 5 elements intertwining with each other, he probably would have been killed by the energy within the dragon blood. His entire body twitched in pain, causing Yi Qinghan's expression to turn hideous. His eyes widened as he dug his fingers into the soft flesh. His god force was instantly drained. The dragon's blood's terrifying energy poured out in torrents, rapidly increasing the 5 elements' purity. He, who had already reached large success in the elements, instantly raised the 5 elements to the Great Circle. The 5 elements' godheads were condensed at the same time. The fire godhead was even more majestic and could erupt at any time, burning the entire West Suppression Prefecture. Yi Qinghan's body was condensed into a true dragon's body. Dragon scales covered his entire body and wriggled in pain and itchiness. Yi Qinghan couldn't stop himself from scratching them. Every time he scratched, some of his flesh would fall off, revealing the dragon scales. It was a horrifying sight. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and summoned the berserk force, absorbing the energy from the chaos origin to suppress the dragon's blood. Once the dragon's blood went out of control, his body would explode and he would die. As expected of the giant dragon's bloodline that could kill an extreme mid-level mighty expert. If I didn't have the chaos origin, I would have conquered it today. Yi Qinghan's mind buzzed and veins popped out all over his body. He felt as if he had turned into a giant dragon with inexhaustible energy. He also felt as if his body was going to explode at any time. His limbs, bones, and every corner of his body contained immeasurable energy. "Condense the godheads for me." Yi Qinghan groaned and roared. He mobilized all the energy in his body and started condensing the 5 elements godheads. The 5 elements godheads continued to expand. It wasn't the volume that increased, but the internal space was expanding infinitely. The storage capacity increased by more than 10,000 times. Divine power rushed into the godheads continuously, but the 5 godheads weren't enough to contain the energy in his body. At this moment, Yi Qinghan didn't need to open his eyes. He could even sense the spatial patterns, the 5 elements, the spatial laws. Everything was clearly visible to him. He had a new understanding of the secret techniques that he had previously comprehended. Roar, a deep ancient dragon's roar rushed out from the auction house. It was so loud that no one dared to make a sound within 10,000 miles of the West Garrison Prefecture. Ferocious beasts wailed and knelt down. Even the heavenly Tao fluctuated. Yi Qinghan started condensing the 6th godhead, the dragon's godhead. It contained the power, spirit, and soul of a dragon. Perhaps tomorrow or perhaps the day after, he would be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. He couldn't help but be shocked. Yi Qinghan's progress was simply too fast. At the same time, Yao Yan, Sima Sun, Long Shan, Western Garrison Liege Lord, and several other Manor Master-level experts walked out of their rooms simultaneously. The moment they saw Yi Qinghan, they were all stunned. They felt as if they were looking at Yi Qinghan as if they were looking at the Great Tao laws and the 5 elements. Was the blood essence of the colossal dragon really that powerful? They all exclaimed in their hearts as they consoled themselves. Perhaps Yi Qinghan's cultivation is too weak, which is why there is such an obvious effect. If it were used on us, it probably would not have such a good effect. "Little friend Yi, why don't you come to my room tonight to talk?" Yao Yan said as she winked at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan smiled and replied without hesitation, "No problem." "Are you not afraid that I will eat you up?" Yao Yan swayed her slender waist, exuding a charm. Then, she stretched out her hand to hook Yi Qinghan's chin. Yi Qinghan raised his right hand slightly and pressed his middle finger against Yao Yan's fingertips, stopping her. Then, he said indifferently, as long as you are interested, why don't you give it a try? Even a great beauty like you is not afraid. Why should a man like me be afraid? You are the first man who can remain so calm before me. This little girl is truly interested now. Yao Yan smiled charmingly. Her every move was filled with seduction, a seduction that men could not resist even if they wanted to. Yi Qinghan remained as calm as still water. He was used to seeing beauties. There was no one in the world that could move his heart more than Emperor Yi. Furthermore, there was Jian Chenxue. At the very least, there was Medusa. There was no need for him to fall head over heels for Yao Yan's insignificant charm technique. Coquettish vixen. Long Shui was dissatisfied. However, she did not dare to say it out loud, only snorting in her heart. Yi Qinghan shook his head. Perhaps this Yao Yan liked to tease men like this, or perhaps she had other motives. However, he was not interested in either. Hence, he headed straight for private room 52 on the 4th floor. There was a sea of people outside the auction house. Obviously, they were all here for the auction. Meanwhile, the mansion masters had already used a special path to reach the 4th floor and entered their private rooms. When Yi Qinghan and Cairo arrived at private room 52, Yao Zilong and the others opened the windows at the same time and glared at Yi Qinghan. There was no need to hide the murderous intent in their eyes. Since they all had murderous intent, there was no need to hide it. Yi Qinghan did not hesitate to sneer and stare back. The corners of his mouth curled up, looking very provocative. This divine sword was ranked 3rd among the top 10 divine swords in the entire plane. Even the prefecture master loved it so much that he could not bear to part with it. No one could understand why someone would take it out for auction. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.